All right, good morning, everyone. We are live here on YouTube. Adam Benini of WGRZ TV and Sports Talk Live Buffalo. Sal Majorana of the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, who is from his hotel room out in Denver after what do you describe? How do you describe that? A 33-30 overtime playoff loss to the Denver Broncos. This is Believe in Bills presented by FanDuel. And so we got a lot of ground to cover here, and we invite you to join us here with your questions and comments. We'll respond to as many as we possibly can, and there will be a lot now here as we enter the official postseason and off-season mode with, well, a lot for management of this team, GM Brandon Beane, to answer for, I think, and we'll get into all of that as we progress here through the shows. But, Sal, your reaction, I mean, as you wake up this morning having written for the Democrat and Chronicle and had a chance to absorb all of what just happened. You go first. What are your thoughts and emotions?
Adam, it's unbelievable how this team just redefines catastrophic defeat. It's amazing to me. I mean, this is really 4 years in a row. You go back to 13 seconds, which started everything. They lay an egg against the Bengals. That wasn't so much a catastrophic, just a horrible day. They blow the chance to beat the Chiefs at home in 24. They lose when Dalton Kincaid can't make a catch last year in the AFC Championship game, in a great game, just like 13 seconds was. And then yesterday, this was a classic NFL playoff game that will go down in history as one of the best ever, especially in the divisional round. And once again, the Bills are on the wrong end of history. You just scratch your head and wonder how they keep coming up with new ways to lose these games. And Adam, we could spend an hour and a half talking about all the plays that made a difference in this game. Just insanity. And as bad as they played at certain points, they should have won the goddamn game. They literally should have won the game, and the officials took it away from them. And we'll debate that call on Cooks at the end. It is definitely a 50-50 call. I mean, you could see it both ways very easily, but you're a Bills fan. If you're a Bills fan, you see it one way, and it's just typical of this franchise's history. It just never seems to go their way. And that play happened in our end of the field, Adam. It was right in front of us in the press box. I could not believe they made the call they made, and that's the game right there. The Bills are going to kick a field goal and win the game. So we can start wherever you want, but there's just so much that happened in this game yesterday. It was incredible.
Well, let's start there because it was such a focal point, for everybody. And let's just start with the officiating, right? Because it falls in line with so much of the frustration and the historical frustration you just referenced. But that play in particular, where I couldn't have agreed with Sean McDermott more, as that all went down, and I'm watching the game broadcast here, and there wasn't really, there was no time for like an in-depth sort of analysis of that thing and a look at every possible angle as we've seen.
Oh, there was time, Adam. They didn't take it.
They called timeout.
It was crazy.
I mean, McDermott called timeout for that reason, and the league did. You know what it reminds me? It reminded me a little bit of 1999 and Game 6 of I'm going back a long way here. 1999 Game 6, Stanley Cup Final, triple overtime, Buffalo, Brett Hull, no goal, and it's a little bit different because that decided a championship and the stars spilled out onto the ice and everything. But once that point, it's like there was no way there was a sufficient review of what happened there. And it was different because there was an obscure rule change that was applied and all of those things. But I guess my point is there wasn't the time. Yeah, I've asked Lindy Ruff about it numerous times since, and there wasn't the time devoted to what I think all parties would feel like an honest review and assessment of that situation. And that was certainly the case that applied to the catch by Cooks and then what wound up being the interception by McMillan.
What I don't understand, Adam, and I know Sean McDermott does not understand this, you're in overtime, so the challenge flags go away. However, every single close play like that should automatically be reviewed. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I've misinterpreted something, but I thought every turnover had to be reviewed. That was a turnover. They did not stop the clock, or they did not stop the game to do an official rule. They talked about it on the field. They made the call, and here we go. McDermott's over there like, what the hell are you doing? How are you not looking at this play? So he called the timeout to maybe get them to look at it. Now, from there, we have no idea what the NFL did. They don't give us any explanation. Even the referee in his pool report did not explain in the pool report that they did go to review back in New York and go through the whole thing. He just explained what happened on the play, their interpretation, and they stuck with the call. McDermott's like, why are we not reviewing this? Now, again, it really could have gone either way. I mean, I get that part of this discussion. However, he looks like he catches the ball. We all can agree he caught the ball. And he went to the ground. His knee is down. Jaquan McMillan is on top of him. So you would think by logic, catch, down by contact. They hit the ground, roll over. McMillan pulls it away. Now it's an interception. How is it an interception? Now, the Broncos are going to argue the exact same thing. They're going to call simultaneous possession. McMillan came away with it. Okay, fine. But the fact that there was no review, official review on this play is just mind-boggling.
Well, I think the point is,
I just can't believe it.
But Sal, I think the point is, and this is the part where I think from a Bills perspective, you have to give a little bit of ground here, right? It was the go to the ground and the process of completing the catch, right? Which we've heard so many times before. And that's where they sort of hung their hat on this ruling. That, yeah, he made the catch. Yeah, he's down, right? But then McMillan is the one. This was the exact explanation, actually. McMillan is the one who actually completed the act of making the catch, and therefore it was ruled an interception. You know,
and again, Adam,
this is the NFL. I can buy that argument. I mean, I can get it's a 50-50 situation. It's how you apply, and we've heard those rules applied before. But the process by which and how that all went down during the game, and the lack of, I agree with McDermott. The players deserve it. Everyone involved deserves a proper assessment because that does decide the game essentially. Right there.
The NFL, Adam, for 20 years or for however long instant replay review has been around, I don't even know, I forget. The NFL does not know what a catch is. Before all this instant replay review bullshit, officials made the call on the field, catch or not, and we all lived with it. Now, every single catch, the ball moves a millimeter, and all of a sudden it's not a catch. Meanwhile, the ball is in the guy's hands, okay? It might have moved a little bit. The play ends, the ball's in the guy's hands, they call it no catch. It happens, 3 times a game, every single week in the NFL. They do not know what a catch is, and it's maddening. It is absolutely maddening. This game is so fast. These athletes are so great. 7 officials in their middle age cannot referee this game correctly, but the NFL makes it so difficult because they just don't have clear definition of what the hell a catch is. It's just crazy to me why they can't get this fixed. And here's another perfect example. I just don't know what this league is going to do, but we're going to continue to have unbelievable results like this. And if you think it's important in the regular season, imagine what happens yesterday when it decides the future of a team. The Bills, by all rights, not that they deserve to be going to the AFC Championship game because they played like shit for a long time in this game, but really, when you break it down to that last play, it should have been a catch. They should have kicked the game-winning field goal. If you're a Bills fan, I don't know how you want to blame the 13 seconds on Sean McDermott. You sure as hell can't blame this game on that. You just can't. It was another unbelievable loss due to incredible circumstances.
They have to be able to use they have all this technology at their fingertips now, right?
But that's part of the problem, I think. I think that's part of the problem. Really? It is. It's part of the problem that has led to situations like this.
Okay, but the inverse of that is in this particular situation, use every ounce of it that you possibly can.
Okay, yeah.
To make sure that you get that thing right, and they didn't.
Yep, they did.
All right.
Crazy.
We're going to move on here a little bit because we have more officiating to talk about, actually. But the CPT Murica, I have a still picture where Cooks has both hands on the ball, knee on the ground, and McMillan doesn't have his hands on the ball at all. But Allen needs to make that throw to Knox at the end of regular. Well, there's no question he needs to make that throw to Knox at the end of regular.
And we can go right there if you want, because that's a good place to segue into the game that Allen had.
Sure. Go. You know what? Before we do that, let's get to the pass interference calls. Okay. Right. Let's round out the officiating discussion first, and then we'll get to the game that Allen had. Because look, if you want to look for the reasons why they lost, that's That's high on the list right there. That's at the
It
top.
sure is.
But the pass interference calls. Look, at that time where they're doing so much to put the flags away, and they got to let them play this thing out in that scenario, especially given what had happened just prior. I mean, I guess to me, Trey White was far more egregious than Taron Johnson.
Oh, absolutely. But even, okay, let's go right there. Early in that drive, not early in the drive, late in the drive, they nail Taron Johnson for a terrible interference call. That was not pass interference, but that one didn't matter because they also had Bosa for roughing the passer. So it was a 17-yard penalty. It became a 15-yard penalty. That didn't matter. But, what are you going to do? Okay, 36-yard line, the ball's on now. The one to Trey White, Adam, look, was it pass interference? By the letter of the law, I guess it was, but it was also, I thought, kind of a ticky-tack call in that moment, in that game. And I talk about this all the time with officials. Now, all day long, they had let these guys play. Spencer Brown made this point in the locker room. He said, he admitted flat out, I held guys all day long and they didn't call it. They were letting us play. So why, in the biggest moment of the game, did they all of a sudden get flag happy? That's the argument you make. They had called. I thought they had done a good job leading up to this final drive. They let them play. And then all of a sudden, so the Trey White play, yeah, it was close. It was, they're both jostling for the ball. Trey White did the exact same thing, by the way, that Riley Moss had done to Brandon Cooks the series before the interception, actually, that they didn't call. They call it on Trey White. And I say this all the time with officials. Know the moment. Understand the situation. Right. Are you really going to decide the game on a play where both guys were making a play for the ball? And yeah, there was contact, but do you really want to end the game like that? And I know everything happens so fast for the officials, and I get it. It's a hard job, but you just can't put yourself in that position. And on the other side of that, the Bills can't put themselves in that position to make it fall to the officials. Brandon Cooks made that point. He needs to make the catch and finish the catch. Don't let it be in the officials' hands. But the Trey White play just drove me nuts because it was the game. That was the game right there. Just like the bad call on the Cooks play was the game. They both go against the Bills.
All right, let's go back to the Knox play then, and let's get to Allen's game, right? Yeah. I mean, look, that's just a situation where Knox is open there, right? I mean, if he makes that throw accurately, I mean, we're talking about a different outcome here.
Adam, there were so many plays with Josh, and I'm not going to blame him for the loss. They all had a role in this loss, but he played a big role in the loss. He turned it over 4 times by himself. You go back to early in the game, he had Curtis Samuel. I think Samuel, if he had gotten the ball out a little further, Samuel might have been able to run under it and catch it for a touchdown. Instead, he underthrew it. The guy made the interception. Okay, I don't know what that would have led to. If even if it's incomplete, would they have gone on and scored? Who knows? Then at the end of the half, Adam, I just have no explanation for what the hell the Bills or Allen were doing. They have 16 seconds to go. They're at I think it was their 36-yard line. They have no timeouts. What the hell were they going to do? I know he's a miracle maker, and that's what Sean McDermott was banking on, okay? This is a really good Denver defense. Did you really think they were going to allow a 30-yard completion to the sideline in that situation? I mean, and even if Allen had run out there for 30 yards, would he have been able to get to the sideline to set up? I just don't think there was any way. So I understand what McDermott's thinking there. He's got a miracle maker. Let's take a chance. But then they drop back to pass, and Allen just does the unthinkable and doesn't protect the ball, loses the fumble. They give him a free 3 points. The fumble at the start of the third quarter, you can't blame him. Deion Dawkins and Shakir both whiffed like you and I were out there trying to block Benito. Blindside hit. He loses the fumble. Okay. But then we get to the misfires, Adam. You want to just go through them here one by one. It's just in the fourth quarter alone. In the fourth quarter alone, they're driving up 27-23. They have a chance really to put the game away. I'm already thinking in my head, if they score a touchdown there, go for 2 because you're already up 7. The game's over if they score and get the 2.
They mentioned that they mentioned on the national broadcast too.
Yeah, he's got Shakir in the right flat on the play that we all hate, the screen, but it was there, And he ends up, he didn't catch the ball, but he caught it on the hop, and the Broncos didn't stop him. He scores the touchdown. How does Allen throw the ball in the dirt from 10 yards away? I couldn't believe it. So they settle for the field goal. Then in the overtime, I think it was the overtime. On the field goal drive that tied the game, the Dawson Knox play, the third down play from I think it was the 32. Knox comes open. He's wide open. He's wide open on that route to the sideline. If he catches that, he might score, although I think he would have ended up out of bounds. But they would have at least had a crack at the end zone. It was about 10 seconds to go. He overthrows him. Wide open. Missed him. Thankfully, Prater kept the game going by making a ballsy 50-yard field goal. That was awesome. Then in the overtime, the play before Cooks, he's got Hardman wide open. I'm watching that play. It was coming right at us. That angle was right at us. Hardman broke from the line, Adam. He was wide open within 4 steps from the line. He was wide open. He just kept running the route. No Bronco went over there. Allen he just underthrew it. He had him. He underthrew it. People were saying Hardman dropped it. Well, he had to adjust, and it would have been a hell of a catch because of the way the ball was thrown, and he didn't make the catch. It's on Allen. It's on Allen. And then, of course, the Cooks play, the very next play on the end of it, that wasn't Allen's fault. But Josh Allen just does not make, but it goes back to that Philly game, right? He had the 2-point conversion, and he doesn't make the play. Wide open to Shakir. It was just the end of the season. There are just these moments that it's just not the Josh Allen that we're used to. Maybe the injuries played a factor in all this, but I got to say, as banged up as he was yesterday, Adam, he looked healthy. I mean, that dude was running. He was trucking. His arm looked fine. It was just his ball placement was just bad yesterday. It killed the Bills.
And you get it. So there's that. And, it reminds me of the end of the AFC Championship game last year, the Kincaid almost catch there where he had options sort of in the flat on the opposite side of the field and didn't see him or didn't recognize the situation. It had to do with the way the Chiefs brought that pressure and everything. But I guess the point is for all he does and for all that he lacks around him on this roster, which is we're going to spend an off season talking about this.
Sure are.
The heat's going to be on Brandon Beane now. And because of the narrative and how it's going to play out, the opportunity that was right there for this team in a game they should have won to be in the AFC Championship game. And we know the narrative about who isn't alive and participating in this particular postseason tournament. It's going to go down. It's going to be added to a long list of painful end of season losses and what could have been for the Bill in particular. In this iteration of the Buffalo Bills and the Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane, Josh Allen era. I was moved by his emotions after the game to see him on the post-game podium in tears. And I know you wrote about it. He kind of took some time before coming into the room. Describe that situation and what you got out of him and the sense you got after him having been there and, as part of that post-game. Sort of in real terms.
Yeah, I was standing as I'm looking at the podium to the left, right where the locker room is, where Allen was going to come out, and one of the PR guys who babysits him throughout his time came out, and we're all okay. There we go. I'm ready to put my recorder up on the podium there, and all of a sudden I saw him, and all of a sudden he stopped and went back around the corner because he was crying. It broke. He was already crying in the locker room, and then it overcame him again as he was about to meet the reporters. So he stopped, went back around the corner. The PR guy went with him, waited till he was ready. Then he came out, but he still was crying. I mean, he still was, his face was red. There were still tears. Everyone saw the video. He cried throughout the whole thing. And I understand why, Adam. The pressure on this guy is absolutely enormous. And not just, because of who he is, what a great player, how much he means to this team, and the very fact that without him, this is a 500 team if they're lucky. He is the most important player in the NFL in terms of what he means to his team. There's no denying that. So the weight of all of this just came crushing down on him in that moment, and I understand why. The national media, every idiot out there, all the idiots all week, right? They're going to kill him for this game. And yeah, he deserves some criticism, no doubt about it. but the pressure that this guy plays with is almost unspeakable. And unfortunately, it showed itself in the postgame. I give him credit. I've been a little bit on Allen this year after losses because he kind of acts like a petulant child. You're one of the faces of the NFL. You got to, when you lose, you meet the media. It's part of your responsibility. Own up to it and don't give us, 1 and 2 word answers. Speak to us. I've been on him for that this year. Yesterday, I'm not going to get on him. I understand fully why he was brief with his answers. He was struggling just to get those out of his mouth. So, yeah, and he said it. It's been a long season, and it sucks the way it ends. It has been a long season. This has been the longest Bills season of the McDermott tenure with all the stuff that they had to go through. The injuries were just never ending. It's amazing to me, Adam, that they even got to the point where they should have won the AFC divisional round game with all the shit that they dealt with this year. And in that moment, it really caught up to them.
But, I mean, listening to him on the podium, I mean, the simple fact of the matter is, we have been and will continue to be critical of him and phenomenal season, but at the same time, chunks of time where he simply hasn't been at his best. And unfortunately, that was the case. I mean, you talk 5 turnovers, 4 of them on his hands, right? I mean, you need it. It's the line. We've used it before. You need in this situation, you need your best players to be at their best. Stars have to star in these games. And you look at the turnovers Allen was responsible for and James Cook as well. And look at the impact that has on the football game. And look, it's fair game.
Yep.
In those moments, you simply have to be better and more responsible with the ball.
I understand fully, Adam. And like I said, he is a big reason why they lost this game. There's no doubt about it. And we're going to talk about this during the offseason. You look what he had to work with in that wide receiver room. And that's what I say. There's so much pressure. This guy's got to be perfect. If he has better wide receivers, Adam, maybe someone other than Curtis Samuel can make that catch on the deep ball. Maybe someone other than McCole Hardman can make that catch on a ball that wasn't thrown well, but a really good player might have caught that ball. McCole Hardman isn't going to catch that ball. Brandon Cooks, guys, he's at the end of his career maybe. If you got a better player, maybe he makes that catch, goes to the ground and hold on to the ball. This guy was playing with, I'm not going to call it garbage all year in the wide receiver room because that would really be derogatory, but he was playing with less than underwhelming players throughout the season. It was the biggest weakness on the team, and you've got a Rolls Royce at quarterback, and you're putting regular gas into that car all season long. And it killed them, and it killed them in this game. There's just no way around it. Brandon Beane is going to have an unbelievable task in this offseason to revamp that wide receiver room. And again, I don't want to talk about it now. We'll get to that later. But that's part of what happened yesterday. Better players might have made Allen look better on a day when he wasn't having a good day throwing the ball.
Let's talk about
the injuries. Let's talk about the injuries for a second too, Adam.
Okay, then we'll go to Beane because there's a point I want to make about Brandon Beane, but we'll get to that after. Go ahead. You go ahead and take the lead on this one.
Think about the injuries on this team all season long, and then think about what happened in this game. I even told Sean in the presser when I'm asking this question about this, I said, Sean, you can't, maybe people heard it on the recording. You can't make this shit up. You just can't. Cam Lewis has a cramp at the end of the first half. Now Taylor Rapp was the starter. Jordan Poyer took over. Then it Cam Lewis, who's the third safety. He's playing in this game. He goes off for one play because he has a cramp. They got to bring in Darnell Savage. So you're down to your 4th string safety in this situation. 4th string safety in the AFC divisional round. One play. Where do the Broncos go? Because they're smart, Sean Payton smart.
Sure.
Right down the middle where Darnell Savage is supposed to be in that deep zone. Touchdown, 17-10 at halftime. End of the game. Trey White has a stinger. By rule, they have to go off. He said this. If you get a stinger, you have to go off and get checked for a concussion. I guess it's related. I'm not a doctor. I don't know why, but he had to leave the field. He said he could have played, but he has to go off for a play. Dane Jackson, from the practice squad, who stinks, Adam. He's only on this team because he played here before and he knew the defense and they could throw him in an emergency. Well, here comes the emergency. First play, where do they go? Marvin Mims runs right by him, touchdown with a minute to go in the game. In the second quarter, Connor McGovern has to go out after the fumble, the Cook fumble. He got hurt. On the next series, they come back out. Alec Anderson's the center. They get down into the red zone. I think it was second down, maybe. He flubs a shotgun snap. Allen gets sacked. They end up not getting a touchdown. They have to kick a field goal. Like I said, you can't make this shit up, Adam. But this was a microcosm of the entire season for this team. The injuries they had, I know every team has injuries, but the injuries this team suffered all year were just, it's amazing that they won 12 games and got to this point. But you look at this game, I can't look away at the circumstance of how this happened with these guys getting hurt and what happened immediately after. It's crazy. It is just, it's the Bills, man. If there's any one way you could say this team is cursed, you could explain it away right there in those three plays.
But that is, and you referenced this, I mean, that's phenomenal preparation and coaching.
I mean, the Bills, exactly. The Bills, they put these guys in, they got to be able to make plays, and they didn't make them. It goes back to the roster construction, right? Now, in this case, I mean, what are you going to do? Cam Lewis is already your third string guy. Darnell Savage wasn't even on the team until early December. The Bills you can't really blame the coaching staff for those failures. I mean, what are you going to do? You lose these players. You can't have a great backup at every position. I understand that. But it's just the timing of all these things were just incredible. And yeah, you give credit to the Broncos for, they could have slow played at the end of the game. They left Allen a minute, and sure enough, he used it and they tied the game. They could have kept not gone at Jane Jackson there and tried to take some more clock off before taking the shots at the end zone. But Sean Payton's like, we may only get one play with Dane Jackson. Let's go for it. Sure. And it paid off.
All right, so let's transition that because it applies, right, to the Brandon Beane situation and Sean McDermott. And I'm looking in the columns here, and we're pushing 30 minutes, so I'm not going to go through all of them, but I see some of the references. Rod Burke, 7905. Pagula needs to move on. Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott.
Bullshit. Bullshit.
Look, that's not going to happen. Okay?
Stupid. It's a stupid thought to even bring up.
But holding some feet to the fire here, that's a little bit of a different story. And you and I had made the point earlier, and I think when we get around to the postseason press conferences this week or whenever, and the assessment of this team, and I mean, McDermott to me has already fired some shots in Beane's direction anyway, not so thinly veiled shots. I mean, the fact we're talking about this receiver room at this stage of Allen's career with what was at stake this season, the fact that he so staunchly and publicly defended that group of receivers and their production last year, heading into this season on WGR radio, right? I mean, that's going to stick to him. I'm sorry, Sal.
No
you
doubt
go out publicly like that and take shots back at which is fine. I mean, we, from our perspective, we love those open, frank, media-based interviews and discussions. I mean, that's the essence. That gets to the core of what we try and do, okay? That's fine, but you're accountable for it. And I think it was a window into his philosophy and, at worst, complacency. I think a lack of judgment of the talent that was in the room, right?
Yep.
Again, we're left at the end of a season where we're talking about the lack of pass rush with this team. Again, how many times have we been in these end of season media sessions or whatever, or podcasts or, articles or television segments where we're talking about lack of pass rush, defensive front?
Yep.
Not being good enough.
It happened again. Joey Bosa was brought in for this situation, right? They told we need a guy in the playoffs to make a difference. He played two of the worst games of his career probably last week, and then this. He was just nowhere to be found. Awful. Same as Von Miller. Von Miller was brought in for that purpose. I understand the knee injury derailed that, but he did play later in postseason games, really had no impact on anything. They have never had a pass rush in the postseason. It just never. It's an area that Beane and the scouting staff, everybody over there has failed. They have thrown incredible amount of assets, both in free agency and the draft, high draft picks in defensive linemen. And I don't know who's doing the talent evaluation. Beane has the final call on the pick or the free agent signing, but he's being helped by a lot of people over there, scouts and everybody. The evaluations have not been good on these defensive linemen. And then wide receiver, what has he done outside of making the trade for Stephon Diggs? Khalil Shakir, a nice little 5th-round pick. Great. He should be a third receiver on most teams. He's this team's number one guy in the slot. They have failed. The free agent signings have been colossal screw-ups. The draft picks, Keon Coleman's a bum. He can't play. They have failed at wide receiver and defensive line, which are unquestionably, Adam, 2 of the 4 most important positions on the team, quarterback being the other, and I think cornerback is a huge thing, and he's done well at cornerback. But those 2 positions have cost the Bills in the postseason. If they have better players, or at least guys making plays at the end of the season, they might have a Super Bowl, maybe 2. Seriously, they might. Yeah. They probably win 13 seconds, and we all think they probably would have beat the Bengals and gone to the Super Bowl. And then last year, they could have gone to the Super Bowl. They had the Chiefs on the ropes. And now this year, we'll never know. But, if New England wins today, I would have given the Bills a very good chance to go to New England and win that game.
Oh, I thought so too. I'm thinking it during the course of the game. I'm thinking it's right there. They're not going to go in and get behind against the Patriots again in Foxborough. They know they can with division game or whatever. I would pick them against the Patriots at this point.
Yep. I probably wouldn't have picked them against Houston because of that defense, but if the Patriots were the team, I think they would have beat them.
All right. Again, so I agree with the Bean's going to have a lot to answer for, right? And I would hope there's going to be some direct questions to those points.
Oh, and there will be. I'll be there.
But let's bake the Darius Slade fiasco into the whole thing.
Yeah, and there's a million things.
How that trickles down and how that could have potentially applied in this game.
Yep, Jamarcus Ingram would have been on the field. Now, he's no great shakes either. He's probably no better than Dane Jackson, but I think he's better than Dane Jackson. He's bigger than Dane Jackson. Maybe he doesn't get beat on that play. You're right. You put all this stuff in the pie and you bake it up, and it ends up being a shit sandwich for the Bills. It does. There were just so many things through the year. And yes, no, you don't fire Brandon Beane, 8 playoffs in 9 years. You don't fire him. You don't fire Sean McDermott. That narrative is so idiotic, and I'm so tired of having to defend it. But yes, their feet are going to be held to the fire. And moving forward now, the pressure is going to ratchet up. Especially on Beane this coming year, he has to deliver. Or then you could really have the conversation. McDermott, okay, maybe. But McDermott's a damn good coach. I don't care what anybody tells you or what fans want to believe. This guy is a good coach. Right now, he is tied, I think, for the second highest winning percentage, counting postseason among all active coaches. Why would you want to fire him? Players, we've talked about this a million times too, Adam. Coaches can only coach so much, and I think they do a good job coaching this team. Players got to make plays. The players didn't make plays in this game, and the number one player didn't make a lot of plays. I just don't know how you blame that on Sean McDermott or even Joe Brady, who I think had a really good day calling plays. It wasn't his fault the quarterback didn't deliver. I thought this might have been one of Brady's best offensive play calling games of the season. He was in his bag, especially in that second half. Those scoring drives they put together, he was on it, man. Mm-hmm. He was on it, and his quarterback did not deliver for him.
Yeah, I would argue it's probably one of McDermott's best coaching jobs of his tenure, given the injuries and the shortcomings of the roster.
Yep, I think you're absolutely right. Someone's going to win Coach of the Year. People are going to think I'm nuts. He should be a candidate for what he had to deal with, the garbage that he was playing with on both sides of the ball. A lot of that, because of the roster construction, but also the injuries, all the depth guys, second, third, fourth string guys that they had to use on a week-to-week basis, guys that they lost, like Ed Oliver for most of the season, Michael Hoyt, all these guys they didn't have. You could say this was one of McDermott's best seasons as a coach. There's no arguing that. And people are going to argue it, but they have no leg to stand on there.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And which is why, it's the roster construction. It just is. And it
wasn't good enough.
It's a tired national, but they have not put enough around Josh Allen. and people outside of the situation, national people, which, some of those takes you can question, the folks who are here covering the team every day have a far different perspective on what's actually going on. But what they asked Allen to do and overcome, given what's around him. And I realize, last year they had to deal with salary cap issues and all of that, and moving on from Stephon Diggs. This was supposed to be a year where things opened up and they had options in that way, and they just blew it from that perspective.
They still had cap issues this year, but he still had to shop in kind of the bargain bin. But that's what happens when you're paying. They've got some guys at the top of this salary cap that are really paid well, led by Allen. It causes problems. It's hard to build that depth. Now, a lot of people are going to say, hey, other teams have done it. The Eagles have done it. They won a Super Bowl last year. Howie Roseman always finds a way to get it done. A lot of other teams have found a way to get it done. The Chiefs, of course. The Bills have not. The Bills have not been able to do it. And, yeah, Beane's going to have to answer for that in the offseason.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition. I know you got a flight to catch. Hope it goes smooth on time and you're back safe. We thank everyone for joining us here. Nice group of people joining us, good-sized group. A lot of comments that we didn't have an opportunity to get to, but I think you understand there's a lot of topics we need.
Yeah, I was doing too much screaming today, Adam. I apologized. I was ready to go today because there was just so much to say. I'm sorry we didn't get to more of that. But we were glad that you were here, and some of the people had a conversation among themselves in the comments, so that was good. But we'll do a better job of getting to those. But I just had way too much on my mind today that I had to blow off my chest. I didn't sleep last night, Adam. I don't know how the players do it. I mean, I went to bed here. I just could not fall asleep. The game was just rolling through my head, and it was a tough night to sleep because my brain just wouldn't shut down. And I woke up this morning. I've already worked out, Adam. I already did 45 minutes at 5 o'clock in the morning Mountain Time because I was just raring to go. So I couldn't wait to get in here and start blabbing about this.
Well, I mean, you can't. I can remember the numerous times. I have 13 seconds is one, right?
Yeah.
And I've got an early flight the next day out of Kansas City. And you get home, much like you. I mean, we edit deep into the night, right? To service all the morning shows, and there's so much volume, which is why, by the way, understandably, we're recording this morning because given all the scope of what you had to do last night, after a game that goes long, it's difficult to do it, right? So when you finally get back and it's, I don't know, I would take a 6 or a 7 a.m. flight, first possible flight back out of the destination to the opponent's city, right? Because we had to get back and do our Monday night show, Sports Talk Live. So earliest possible flight. And at most you sleep like 2 hours because you're just so wired.
Yeah, exactly.
You're trying to go through all the different scenarios we just went through, and you're trying to write that into articles or figure out which report to reference that in and get through all of it. It's impossible to just shut your brain down.
Yeah, that was the case, man. That. I mean, the sun is finally rising behind me here in the mountain zone. So, yeah, I'm already tired now from all this. Jesus.
All right. So, FanDuel, presenting sponsor for this show, minus the Buffalo Bills in the field now, Super Bowl odds, has the Seahawks on top at plus 155, followed by the Rams plus 310, Patriots third plus 430, Houston Texans plus 750, Denver Broncos plus 1,000. We didn't reference the news that broke immediately after the game with regard to them and the fact that Bo Nix is now out for the playoffs.
Crazy.
After breaking a bone in his foot.
Crazy. It happened on the second to last play of the game. And nobody even saw it. He came off the field, and I wasn't in for Peyton's press conference, but I saw the transcript. First thing he said, not good news. That's how we started his press conference. Everyone's like, I'm sure the guys were like, what are you talking about? And then he said that. I saw one of the Denver, in fact, Luca Evans, who we had on the show last week. I saw him in the press box. I went over, I said, are you kidding me? And he goes, he was like speechless. They just won one of the best playoff games you're ever going to see, and they lost their quarterback. Can you imagine if that happened in the Bills? I mean, Bo Nix is not Josh Allen, but he's their Josh Allen, and now they don't have him. It's insane. This game was just – I'm telling you, man, someday, Adam, I've written 22 books. I probably should just do a book on catastrophic, amazing, all-time great NFL games that the Bills lost. I mean, I don't know who would read it because it's so goddamn depressing, but I should do that, shouldn't I? When I retire, maybe I should do all that.
Well, I mean,
put it in one volume.
Sure. you're well equipped.
Oh,
Given
God.
given your
This
approach.
team, I'm too old for this, Adam. I'm too old for this. This team they're unbelievable to cover. These last 6 years have just they've taken years off my life. I swear to God. And I'm sure fans too.
It's just that it's right there. And I agree with you. I think 13 seconds, they win that game, right?
Yeah. I mean,
that was their Super Bowl right there.
There's recency bias here now, but I mean, I kind of even forgot about it. I mean, this game, this is one round earlier. No, it's the same round. What am I talking about? But this one even felt worse. This kind of felt worse to me. I know probably back then I would never even imagine I could say that, but recency bias would tell me the next morning here, I'm like, I can't believe they lost this game.
Well, the 5 turnovers
that this happened. I know why they lost it. I just can't believe they did.
No, but it's the mistakes that were made throughout it, right? Yeah. Like the 13
that was
seconds
just a catastrophic end. Yeah,
13 seconds game was one of the great games in the history of the National Football League. Great postseason game. I remember sitting in the press box that night, and I'm next to Josh Reed from Channel 4, and I forget after which touchdown to Gabe Davis the reference was. Right. And that they're going back and forth, heavyweight fight or whatever. And I just looked at him and I said, I know you know this. And he's just nodding. We're witnessing history here.
Yeah.
This is one of the, and, sure enough, had they emerged from that game, they probably win the Super Bowl that year. I think they have an opportunity. They come out of this one. They don't turn the ball over 5 times. Like if the Patriots win today, if the Patriots are able to win this game, I like them going into Foxborough. Now, do you ultimately like them in the Super Bowl?
No.
I don't know.
I don't think so. No way.
I don't feel the same way about this team that I felt about that team that lost the 13-second game.
Exactly right. They're not beating the Seahawks. They're not beating the Rams if they get there, in my opinion. With this roster, you're right. It would have ended badly in the Super Bowl, I think, but they could have gotten there.
But that's an interesting way to end this because that can carry us into potentially the end of season news conferences and what we might possibly hear and want to hear and not hear, as is often the case, out of Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott. So that's going to do it for us here on this special morning edition. Believe in Bills. Sal Majorana, Rochester Democrat Chronicle, out in Denver. He's about to hop a bird and fly back. I'm Adam Bonini, WGRZ TV, Sports Talk Live, Buffalo. A reminder, Sports Talk Live will be at 7 o'clock on WGRZ+. We're going to be streaming on Monday night, covering a lot of these same topics with John Scott and Vic Carucci. So for Sal Majorana, I'm Adam Bonini. Thanks for being with us here on this live edition, Believe in Bills, presented by FanDuel.